What is up, YouTube? What is up, Rumble? Welcome back to the Ryan Matta Show. Tonight is Tuesday, April 2nd. It's 9:01 p.m. Thank you so much for joining us on this late evening hour. If you could do me a huge solid and smash that like button on your way in the show, we're going to dive into all things Bitcoin and mining again. I got two amazing gentlemen, Stephen and Eric Wilson from the Wilson Brothers Mining over here. And we're going to bring them onto the show. We're going to hear a little bit about their story, what it's like mining. If you guys check out the thumbnail that I had on there too, I'm pretty sure we're going to get into this, but they also offer hosting for mining too. So if you got a miner and it's, maybe electricity costs are getting too expensive where you're at and you're looking for somebody to host your miner, you can look into options like this as well. So I'm going to bring these gentlemen on the show. Eric, Steven, how you doing, buddies?
Doing great. How about you?
Doing great. How about you, Steven?
Fantastic. Thanks for having us on.
Hey man, it's an honor to be here. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Why don't we start with Eric and then we'll come to Steve next.
So my Bitcoin journey starts, I think it was 2018. I was an auto mechanic at the time. My neighbor mentioned this little cryptocurrency to me that I had never heard of before. Well, everyone has heard of it because of the Silk Road.
Yep.
But everyone, I had never, really given it a second thought until he, showed me how much, because it was 2018, so he was making a good amount of money on it. I was like, well, that seems like fun. I kind of want to make some money too.
Yep.
And then I started buying, and then I looked more into it, and I really liked the fact that no matter what happened, the Bitcoin that I owned and I had in my cold wallet, no one could ever take it from me. The government can't come along and grab it. Nobody can try to convince me, it's mine. Nobody can do anything about it. And I one of my pet peeves is people telling me what to do. And the fact that you can't tell me what to do with my Bitcoin is just really strikes me. It's something I really resonate with.
Yep.
And so, I kept buying. And then one day Steven calls me up and says, hey, I think we should start a Bitcoin mining operation. And the rest was kind of history. He tells the story much better than I do. But
well, Steve, why don't you introduce yourself and then jump right into that story, my friend?
Yeah, I'm Steven Wilson. I am the older of the two brothers, just probably a year and a half. So me and Eric are very similar in age. And yeah, so Eric's kind of going over the beginning, and then I kind of had what I just call like a break in my life. Like I was running another business at the time and it was going really well. So, when you're doing that, when business is good, there's typically just like, not a lot of things to do if everything's running smoothly. So anyways, I was like, okay, Eric is sticking like, basically all his money into this Bitcoin thing. And like, either he's right about it and like I should be doing the same thing, or he's wrong and I need to like figure out which one it is or whatever. So, you go down the rabbit hole. 30 days later, I come out the other side. And so I'm like very entrepreneurial. And so I come out the other side. I'm like, I have to have a business in this. Like, there's just no way about it. Like I have to. So anyways, I'm like throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and nothing's really sticking that well. Until I land on mining. And so, you kind of need like three things to kind of get yourself started with mining. So you need like, cheap power. You need like a place to put these machines. They're super loud, so you can't really have a ton. I mean, people do run them in their houses, but like running, more than 5 machines in your house is like the quickest way to get divorced ever. So like, you're for sure not going to do that for very long. And so you need like a remote place to put them. And then, the third thing, you need like somebody to be able to like manage and fix the machines when they break. And so for us, when I was realizing, I was like, okay, I think we have like a lot of that already like in place. And so kind of like our backstory is like, we're technically 5th generation farmers. We didn't grow up on a farm. We grew up in the cities, but our parents always owned farmland down in Iowa.
Yep. And
we're surrounded by wind turbines down there. And so the thought was like, there just has to be cheap power down there. Like we're surrounded by it. Like, let's just go down there and find it. And then, we own a ton of land down there, so we can just put a container, in the middle of one of our farms, which is literally what we did. There's no neighbors around for miles and miles and miles. We're not going to bother anybody. Okay, we've got that part figured out. And then the last part was that Eric missed over, was that he was a car mechanic for 7 years. And just growing up together, like, he's just very mechanically inclined. I've never never seen him like not be able to figure out a machine ever. So the bet was like, I'll bet he can figure out how to, do these Bitcoin miners too. And so we kind of had like all three already in place there. So, that was kind of the call I had with Eric, and he was like, yeah, like I'm in, I'm on board. Like, let's go, let's do it. And we took off really, really fast, and to build this business, and made a ton of mistakes along the way. But we've kind of, got things figured out now and have a pretty good understanding on like what we're doing. And that's kind of where we are now, I guess.
Man, that sounds like the gosh damn American dream if I've ever heard it, man. It really is. And you don't hear that much anymore. And it's almost like Bitcoin sounds like it's like reviving the American dream almost, or it's the last chance that Americans, especially this younger generation, has a shot at the American dream, right? Because without Bitcoin, they're printing our currency into oblivion, and there's almost no future. I mean, you don't buy a house now, you're priced out of house for all of eternity. So, I think it's inspirational. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this interview. So tell us a little bit about those mistakes. Who wants to go first?
So the first mistake that we had was we had a immersion facility that we set up. It was not going to be a hosting facility. It was just going to be for our personal miners.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a shed in Iowa on our our grain bin drying site with 600 amp single phase service. So we could run a good amount of power. You could run like 100 kilowatt of power through there. So it was, it was a perfect place. It was a shed. And so we paid the local electrician, some money to run us the 600 amp wires to our shed. And the look he fucking gave us was one of complete and utter, cause he's a 65-year-old, man, he's a veteran. So he didn't understand Bitcoin. He had no idea what it was. And when I said, this is what we're trying to do, he looked at me and was like, well, as long as the check goes through, I guess it doesn't really matter now, does it?
What amp wires were you asking for?
So because we had 600 amp service, and so we ran
480?
three. I forget what gauge they were. I think they were. I couldn't remember.
That's nuts.
Man. It was just like because we had 3 200 amp panels in the shed added on, and so it was basically like 3 home electrical panels. So we
in
just
one
we
shed.
Had, in one shed. So, again, the back of the shed, there's just the 3 panels, and we had like I think we had 4 1050Rs, so we had 4 50 amp plugs on each panel, and so we were going to run 100 kilowatt back there, and so we set up our whole immersion site. We had everything set up. It was a really cool site. We built we built it ourselves. We built and designed ourselves. And then we start pulling power, and then we get the first power bill, and we were paying like 18 or 19 cents per kilowatt hour. And so the big mistake we made was we did not secure the power cost early on. We spent all this money and we did not secure the power cost, and we were pulling energy from a Lion Energy, who was a pubco, and they're not very easy to work with, and they were not particularly interested in giving us any kind of lower rate, unfortunately.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So basically, we build this whole facility out, and we get our power bill, and we're underwater on the power bill right away. So the huge mistake was like we didn't get the power side, which is the most important part for mining, in order before we started spending money and building stuff. And the big lesson was like, we were working, like Eric said, with Lion Energy. They're a publicly traded energy company. They're massive, multi-billion dollar company. There's basically no way to like get them to negotiate with you or really get to anybody who can like, make decisions for you. Right. So, we did the only thing that we could do, which was, call everybody in their company and harass damn near everyone who worked for the whole entire state of Iowa until we basically got everybody who was anybody who was in charge of the state of Iowa on a Zoom call with us. And they basically told us to go kick rocks. We're not really interested in supporting you guys that much. And so, okay, fine. Luckily for us, we had land like a couple miles away that was like outside of their territory, basically.
Yep.
And that was in like that was a local rural co-op. So with them, they're just a small team, like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 20 guys that work there. And so we got to meet and sit down directly with the guy who runs the place. And that was kind of the game changer for us, where you know, we finally got to somebody who could make decisions and like understand and hear like, you know, how our business works and how we can help them. And that was kind of the light bulb and the change for us. So they were super motivated and excited to work with us. You know, we were going to be a huge part of their revenue stream. So, you know, it was good for both parties. Were super excited about the relationship, and that's kind of what you are looking for, right? It's just hard to work with a big company if they're just not that excited about you. You know, so that was kind of the switch for us. And so we, you know, sat and, you know, sulked for 24 hours about the money that we spent on the facility that, you know, didn't pan out. And, you know, we moved a couple miles down the road and just went right back to it. And
what was the L on that? Do you guys take a big L?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know.
We spent like, I don't know, 25K on the immersion.
Right.
Well, it was 25K on the initial immersion container. Well, and then we spent, dude, it was
probably north of 50,000. So I mean,
that was just right off the rip. You guys were down
right
negative 50K.
We're just down 50, and like, you know, I'm 29 and Eric's 27. Like, you know, we're young, like, so I'm not like wealthy yet. So it's like, that's a lot of money. That was a lot of money for us to kind of, you know, stomach, but you know, it is what it is. You know, the boys didn't quit, and so then we take off and, you know, go to our next site, and we're building that all out. And so like right about the time that we're getting ready to start selling our hosting slots, the FTX collapse happens and Bitcoin crashes down to 16,000. And it's quite literally the worst, the least profitable time to be mining Bitcoin in the history of Bitcoin mining. It's like right when we're like getting ready to launch our site and go try to, you know, market ourselves and sell our hosting slots, which is just like hilarious. But we ended up pulling it off. Like we sold all the slots and everything. It wasn't easy or anything, but we ended up doing it. So then we, you know, get another kick down right there. And yeah, and then that kind of we've been operating that site for a little over a year now. And we can kind of, I guess, get into more of like the growth plans that are kind of currently happening right now.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about, before we go into those growth plans, tell me a little bit about you know, what it was like marketing and trying to fill up these slots. How many machines can you guys hold there?
So we bought an upstream container that can hold 144, but we were able to squeeze like 150 in there.
Wow! So you guys got that all filled out?
Yeah.
Yep.
And how much power is that drawing now?
So in the winter it draws like, because we overclock quite a bit. So in the winter it draws anywhere from like 500 to 600 kilowatt. In the summer it's more like 430 to 475.
Jeez, oh Pete. And what is the square footage of the place?
It is 8 by 10, so 80 square feet. It's not very big. Well, no, 8 by 20. Sorry, 8 by 20.
Wow, that's still a decent sized place. I mean, not massive, but still. And are you guys got the machines from floor to ceiling?
So the way the upstream container works is it has like intakes on the bottom, and then it has the miners actually sit above the intakes. And so it's like half, like the bottom half is intake and the top half is miners.
Okay.
And then it just goes from wall to wall. So it's just 20 feet of miners on each side.
And how many of those machines are your guys's versus how many slots are you guys hosting for people?
I think we have 30 or 40 in there is ours.
And
some are there some are half broken, some are fully working. Like, yeah, like that's kind of a whole nother thing. But yeah, we're like, you know, 75-80% hosted, and like, you know, 20-25% are like our own personal miners.
And go ahead.
Yeah.
Would you say, so I don't know, this is just me personally, I've tried mining about 3 times now and kind of hit those walls, right? I had 20 well, when I first started mining, I was mining ETH, and right, I could mine it with my desktop computer, right, with 2 graphics cards. I was like one of the first YouTubers out there teaching people how to mine Ethereum when it was like $2.64. And
awesome.
that's when I first got my feet wet. So those were like the glory days. Like those days didn't last for
Yeah.
more than a couple months. Like I was so new and there was so few content out there that I was building. Like I built one. I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing's like an employee, right? Like I spend $7 a day in electricity, or I spend $15 or sorry, I spend
Yeah.
$7 a day in electricity, and it makes me $15 a day in this Ethereum coin, right? It wasn't much, but it was like I was like, oh, this is like an
Yeah.
employee, right? So I built another one, and then
Yep.
another one, and as I was getting
Yep.
that third one done, like the price was going up. I think it went from like 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 or something like that. But the difficulty kept going up. But I didn't understand that, right? Like I didn't know that this thing was getting harder. I just thought that like I was either in the wrong mining pool, I was getting ripped off, my miners weren't fucking coded right. Like I was just like, this
Yeah.
thing's a fucking. I remember making like there was a dwarf pool back then. I was like, this, like making like dwarf pool is a scam, like videos on YouTube because I thought this thing was ripping me off that I wasn't, and I had no idea. And then,
Yeah.
then I went into the bull run, and then we went out of the bull run. And as we were coming out of the bull run, I was like, oh, dude, I'm gonna mine, and I'm gonna build like then it was like they had just started coming out with the 6-card rigs, right, where you could six graphics cards on one motherboard, and then
Yep.
I forget what brand it was, but it was the first one that came out that could hold 18 graphics cards. And I was like, oh yeah, that's me bet, right? But there was this huge shortage on graphics cards, and I didn't read the directions of this motherboard. We had to have 6 NVIDIAs, and then you could pretty much put whatever else on there. Well, I brought all AMD. So for like 2 months, I was trying to get 18 cards running on a motherboard that just was never designed for it, dude. It was just, I thought it was my risers, I thought it was my cords, I thought it was my cables. It was getting all this extra equipment. Before I know it, dude, I wasn't mining shit, man. I had all this money invested into all this shit. So I hit that road, and I realized then that like if I would have just bought my logic was either you buy enough rigs, right, to where you're going to run like your own mini farm, whether that's 10, 15, 20, and you kind of just do it big yourself, and then you can actually, do what you guys are doing. But I always tell people like just buy the crypto. Like don't buy the machine, just go put the money into the crypto if you're just going to buy one machine. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Was it just my bad luck? Is it profitable for somebody to go out and buy a couple rigs and mine from their house, or what are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have thoughts about this, and like this is kind of what I tell like people that are like reaching out and kind of like trying to figure out like if they're gonna mine Bitcoin and kind of what they should do. And what I tell them is like, look, mining is risky, right? And that's the first thing you need to understand is like this is risky. And so if you had, let's just say you had like $20,000, right, and you were gonna, that was like what you were going to allocate to this asset class, right?
Yep.
Well, if you had your mind set on like, okay, I want like X amount of Bitcoin, right? Okay, so go take your money and buy the amount that you want for sure to have, right?
Okay.
That there's no risk. Okay, I'm going to buy $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. I'm going to get whatever the rate is right now. I'm going to send it to my wallet. That one's mine. There's no risk there, right? Totally good. And then with mining, it comes with a lot of risk, but there's tons of room for reward on the other side, right? And so a lot of it comes down to your expertise. So like if you're going to run it yourself, like how much of this stuff can you do on your own? Basically, like if you don't have a lot of like electrical experience, like you're gonna be in a world of hurt for sure. Or like if you don't have a lot of like hardware computer experience, like again you're going to be in a world of hurt.
That's where I got hit at,
or
like computer experience.
Or just like finding like a host like us, finding somebody else to run your machines for you too. There's risks there, like not all the hosting companies are created equal. And so finding like somebody who's good and has a good track record in the community, and like somebody that like everyone speaks highly of, is not easy either. And so what I usually tell people is like, you spend your 10,000, you grab some Bitcoin, and then, okay, let's buy 2 miners with the other 10,000. And the reason that you would want to do that is you're just like mining is just the best way to dollar cost average, right? So I'm paying for $5 electricity. I'm getting $10 with the Bitcoin out of it, right? I just, that formula works really, really well. And so really what I say is like, to people, like, how much do you want? Like if you were going to buy Bitcoin every single month, right? How much would you want to buy? And if the answer is like, let's just say like $300, I want to buy $300 of Bitcoin every month. Okay. Well, $300 of Bitcoin, like hosted through us, would be like roughly 2 miners, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll take the remaining 10,000, we'll buy 2 miners with it. Well, with us, you'd actually get it for like 8,000. So we'll take the 8,000. We'll buy 2 miners, and then every single month you'll pay us $300 for your hosting bills, and
Yep.
then you get like, right now you'd probably get like somewhere between like $800-900 to $1,000 a month on the other side. And really that kind of puts people in a good spot to where, you don't have a hosting bill that like you can't stomach, right? If you're comfortable spending $300 a month buying Bitcoin, then like you can foot the hosting bill every month. Like you're not in like a financially stressed position. Like we never tell people to like go all in on mining and stuff like that, because like it's super risky. And there's no reason to like over leverage yourself at all in this industry. Like I'm sure you probably know. And so that's kind of the advice that I give people. And then obviously like the timing too. Like if you're buying in a bull market, like when the machine's like right now, you can buy one through us for like $39.50. In a bull market, those things are gonna be going for 12,000, right? If you buy at 12,000, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get your return back versus when you're buying now at 4,000, like obviously. So there's a ton of things that kind of go into this whole thing of mining, and most people don't get it right their first time.
Yep.
So it's like good to reach out to somebody who's kind of been through it before you, so you can not make the same mistakes as we did, so to speak.
Yeah, I was watching this last bull run. The altcoin Cadena came out, and they with their ASICs and Bitmain kind of,
Yep.
there was only 1 or 2 mining companies, and these things were so profitable because their emissions were so high that early on in their blockchain. And it was a point kind of like reminded me back in the day when Bitcoin had, I think it was like the S9, and like right before the S9, they had another model that came out like a year before. So if you bought that one a year before and then the S9 came out, it kind of made that one you bought a year before like kind of, obsolete. And I was like, man, it just feels like everything just reminded me of that. I'm like, be really careful, guys, because we got companies like Bitmain that are going to be jumping in the game. And when they do, they're not going to jump in and go, oh, yeah, however many terahash you're putting out, we're going to put out a machine that's the exact same. I'm like, no, they're probably going to one-up them, if not like really one-up them and make that machine obsolete. And some people are paying like $20,000 to $30,000. I think one person paid almost $40,000 for this machine. And it was like, at the time, it was making him $200 a day. But by the time he got it set up, like those rewards were down. And then Bitmain came out with their new machine right after it. And I mean, that's a lot of coin, like 40 grand's hard hit to take on just one machine, especially that's almost obsolete, a year later. It's rough. And you're saying you guys got these machines for roughly 3,500. Is that what you said right now? You can buy like the
39.50. So just round it to 4,000
for 4,000. And that's the like brand new top of the line Bitcoin miner
top
right now.
Of the line.
When did that one come out?
The M60, it's the M60 170 terahash. It came out, the M60s came out. Yeah, 100. I mean, yeah, they're getting up there now. It came out, I don't know, earlier this year, I think, or late last year.
And how often are the new machines coming out? Is that like a once a year thing now, or are they kind of?
It completely varies based on, I mean, Bitmain will release, the S21 just came out, and then the M60s just came out not that long ago. It's completely dependent on how quick like the ASIC, like the architecture can go. So all the new stuff, the M60, S21, they all have the 4 nanometer chips. Before it was the 5 nanometer, and so it's kind of, they come out with like almost like a brand new generation when they have access to like new generation chips. And so, but obviously that new generation, obviously the chips get, smaller and smaller every year, and you can only get so much more efficient. Yep. And so the efficiency gains are going to get smaller and smaller as time goes on. Cause again, you just can't get, 20% efficiency gains every single year. You just can't do that.
Yep.
Technology just doesn't work that way. So the new generations generally come around like once every, 2, 3, 4 years. Again, it completely depends on when new chips come out.
And so I buy one for, let's just say 4,000. You said those are bringing back in about 1,000 a month, but I'm paying 300 out of pocket.
Like if you bought 2 of them, so like if you bought one of them, you'd be doing like little over like $500 a month. That's like as of today, and you'd profit. somewhere in the line of like 350-ish dollars a month. Yeah.
$350 a month. And so then you're taking about what is that, about 10 or 11 month ROI, and then after that you're kind of, you got your equipment paid off, and then you're kind of coasting and you hoping that machine's going to stay up and running as profitable for as long as possible. How many years are you expecting to get out of one of these machines?
The What's miners last a lot longer. I have a lot of opinions on the What's miner versus Bitmain. The What's miners, I mean, we have miners in that have been hashing the M30S pluses have been hashing for like 2, 3, 4 years straight without any issues. The Bitmain products, if you get 3 trouble-free issues, like we have one of our original miners, our S19 Pro, has had 3 trouble-free issues, and we're going to hold on to that thing forever just because of its sentimental value.
Wait,
But
when you
that
say,
thing has been
sorry,
trouble-free.
when you say trouble free, what does that mean? Trouble free issues?
No repairs. So the miners can like fans can break,
Hmm.
PSUs can break, control boards can break, hash boards can break. So there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. And so if you only have like a few repairs like fans and stuff, that's you're pretty lucky. But the real issue is the hash board repairs. So and those can happen just from like the environment you're hashing in. Like if it's very humid, you'll get a lot of corrosion. Then obviously corrosion on electronics, is pretty
Hmm.
detrimental. It's like a cancer, just like cars. Your
Yep.
frame rusts out, and the cars kind of scrap after that.
Yep.
There's no saving it. You can undercoat it, but it's too late. The rust is there.
Hmm.
Same thing with the hash boards. Once corrosion is there, it's there. It's not going anywhere. It's going to wreak havoc on it. And it's only it's a ticking time bomb of when it's going to stop
Yep.
working. That's just humidity. It can just, if it's too cold, like we're in Iowa, and so when we curtail, we turn back on. It's so cold. Sometimes the miners they just won't start back up again, and it's because like you're putting so much heat. You go from so cold to so hot so
Yep.
fast. Like there's all these like
Hardens that
stress
steel.
fractures in this. Yeah, there's all these
Yep.
stress fractures in the solder, and they don't turn back on.
Hmm.
And so again, that's why we recommend What's miners for our environment is because they can handle the cold where the Bitmain miners can't. And so and if you have repairs that really eats in your ROI, because if you have a hash board go down, it's 150 to $300, sometimes $500 just repair one of these things. And
Yeah.
so it's really important that you don't have any repairs and that you have a reliable miner. Because again, you paid $4,000 for this miner, you got to pay $500 for it this month. That's a few months ROI that
Yep.
you got to spread that back out again.
And so break me down that process. I order, let's say I gave you guys right now $4,000. Are you going out and buying a new machine for me, or am I going on Bitmain site and ordering it? You sound like I was going to order it through you. Does it get delivered to your shop? Can one of you guys walk me through that process?
Yeah, so you send us $4,000. We send you a really nice thank you.
Yep.
It's a really appreciated business, yada yada yada. And then so what we're doing now is the reason we're able to get these miners for cheaper than a lot of other people is because we're making a large, what we're calling it, a group buy.
Hmm.
And so we're basically congregating a bunch of smaller guys who have, they're buying 1, 2, 3, 10 miners all at once. So they're not big enough to meet those large, 100 MOQ orders to get
Yep.
lower pricing. And so what we're doing is we're basically pooling everybody's order. We're going to one vendor and say, hey, we got 100 miners that we want to buy. Can you give us this lower price?
Yep.
We get the lower price. We make one large order. Your miner's involved in that. All the miners show up to my house. I store them until August when we're going to go online. And then, when we go online, I plug your miner in and you start getting Bitcoin to your wallet or whatever pool that you're using.
And
So these customers most of them never even touch these miners. They just send us money. We order the miner and then we plug it in for them.
and what was it you said you don't start mining until August? Why is that?
Because infrastructure takes a real long time to
Oh,
build.
okay. Okay.
It's
Okay. I
it's
thought, okay. Yep.
Yeah, it's really funny. Me and Steve talk about this all the time. Is we kind of make fun of like the software tech guys, how if they want to problem solve, they push out an update in an afternoon.
Mhm.
Problem solved. With
Mhm.
us, we want to get more miners online. It's not a software update. We have to buy a transformer. We have to get an electrician. We have to run wires. We have to run high voltage lines. We have to talk to the power company. We have to pay power deposit. I mean, you know, we have to physically move miners. Like, I swear to God, all day, every day, I fucking move these goddamn miners around. They're heavy, but I mean, like, all this stuff takes time, and so again, you know, there's the infrastructure usually kind of typically can't keep up with the hosting demand. Like, you know, again, a lot of people want slots, but there's just not slots available because, again, I'm waiting on a transformer for 6 months. You know, you know, there's nothing I can do about it. It's just, that's just the timeline of these things.
No shit. 6 months to get a transformer, huh? So you have to,
It's pretty long, yeah.
so you guys have to basically, you know, not crowdsource, but you guys have to basically generate the business first to get the capital and cash flow to make that investment. And then after that investment's made, it's 6 months to kind of get the ball rolling, get everything up and running, and then you're able to jump right into it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you still got to move all the miners, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, yeah, once the stuff gets there, you got to throw it all together, make it all work. But yeah, it took us. I mean, it took us months of, you know, trial and error to figure out, like, I mean, it's not just, you know, plug and play and go. You know, there's always issues that come up with environment.
Mhm.
You know, sometimes it's too hot, it's too cold, the
Yep.
filters are dirty. You know, there's a bunch of physical stuff that a lot of people don't see behind mining. You know, they think it's plug computer in, get Bitcoin, you know, call it a day. But, you know, there's a huge amount of stuff we're doing behind the scenes every single day to make sure these miners stay clean, make sure that, you know, there's no moisture in the air, they're not getting wet, you know, that the power stays reliable, stuff like that. Like, there's so much physical aspects to mining that people don't realize that we're doing, you know, every day.
And where do you guys see yourselves in? I'll go to Steven with this one. Where do you guys see yourself in a year from now?
So we've ordered basically two 900 kilowatts, so basically double the size of the container that we have now for this year. So we're gonna have a big push this 2024. 2025, I'd imagine we'll be at like 5 megawatts worth of power. So that's like roughly 1,500 miners total, give or take. So obviously, you know, that's a big jump in terms of like going from 150 to 1,500. But yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing. Like, you know, we've seen the demand for it. Like, we literally had to say no to probably 1,500 miners just because we couldn't fill the slots, and
Wow.
that sucks obviously. But yeah, I mean, we definitely feel super confident to get there. And like, you know, marketing and sales are definitely like one of our strong suits in the industry. So, you know, even though we're like we're guys that have 150 miners and, like, you know, we're on your show, right? It's like, you know, we're tiny in terms of like what, you know, is actually a big mining operation. But we are pretty good at marketing ourselves and trying to give like a compelling offer to people who, you know, who just want to have like one or two machines, right? And we're able to give them basically the competitive advantage that all the big guys have, right? And so I can talk more about like our hosting rate, which is like, you know, for this offer is 6.9 cents when the industry average is typically 8 cents. And so you know, like for reference, like Bitmain, the largest, you know, Bitcoin mining company in the world, you know, they host with a company called Core Scientific for 7.45 cents, and they're hosting, you know, tens and tens of thousands of machines, and you can host with us at 6.9 with one machine. And the reason we're able to do that is it's just me and Eric. So we're small and we're lean and we're mean, and so basically what I'm saying is, like, you know, the big guys don't have as big of an advantage over the small guys as what everyone seems to think. And hopefully, you know, if you're out there watching this, you can see that, like, you know, we're trying to kind of pioneer the way that like the small guys still have a chance versus the big guys, and the fight isn't over yet. We don't just lose to the mega miners just yet, guys.
Man, no, I think that's what this industry needs. Honestly, I mean, I would, if I was putting my miner anywhere, it would be going with you guys. I mean, I would always going to give my business to the little guy, especially if it's not going to, you know, cost me an arm and a leg more. It's actually going to save me money. It's going to be more profitable for me to support the little guy always, man. Always. The last thing I want is to, you know, that all that centralized mining power in one location. And the more we can
Yeah.
decentralize that and support the network, the better it makes it for all of us. So I think going with a business like yours is the go-to, as long as you guys can deliver, and it seems like you guys are. And I like what you said there about, you're expanding to the point where you're going to have 1,500 miners. That's really big, because then you have the ability, you already have 1,500 people that mine, right? That all have miners that are most likely going to want to stay in the game. So then you kind of get to a point where now you might not even have to go through a vendor. You might be able to generate, enough orders to put in 1,000-piece order yourselves. Am I on the right track with that?
Yeah, the idea is, the larger order you can place, the lower prices you can get. And,
Mm-hmm.
if we can combine all our customers together, because I mean, before it was, they go out to, one vendor and say, hey, I need one miner. Obviously that price is going to be way higher, but
Yep.
if we can combine everybody, everybody wins. It's like the same co-op mentality that we have here in the Midwest. It's like, let's all work together, let's all combine, and we all come out ahead. It's not just one big guy that comes out ahead. We all come out ahead.
Yep. And how is it dealing with people like Pocahontas? You guys might know her by Elizabeth Warren.
Oh yeah. we don't pay too much mind to her.
We're just farmers, tending to our land.
Yep.
Leave us alone. We're not in the middle of nowhere.
She's welcome to come out to the farm and check things out.
So yeah, there's no.
But I highly doubt that.
It's like there's no getting away from the crushing weight of this government at this point. It blows my mind that like you guys are literally out here pioneering the American dream, and the last thing that government should want to do is interfere with the American dream. Like, let prosperity live. Let me pursue life, liberty, and chase some happiness without you guys. You assholes are already taxing us 53%. Gary Cardone was on the show the other day. And I tell this to everybody. He brought up Elizabeth Warren, or I brought up, like regulations. He goes, you know what I think of Elizabeth Warren? And he gives her the double barrel middle finger on my show and tells her to pound sand. And he goes, listen, Bitcoin mining or Bitcoin America only makes up for like 12% of the adoption across the Bitcoin network now. He goes, like, they've gutted it. At one point, it was like 80% in America. And like what Elizabeth Warren or the United States does to Bitcoin or crypto as in general, it's obsolete. Like, it doesn't care. It's a global business. Like, if you're going to either get on board or you're going to get left behind. And if you get left behind, the only people that suffer are yourself and the citizens of your country, which is why it's oddly like we're in a position where I feel like that they want us to suffer, but
it's like, what kind of America are we living in here when two brothers can't go try to start a business and make something of their lives, right? It's like, we're doing everything like right that, you would say is like, what living in America is supposed to be, right? You go take risks, you start a business, you try to make something of yourself, and you work hard, and you take risks, and you fail, and you lose money, but then you make it back, and like that's the journey. That's what life is like here, and so it's just it sucks that they're so against us. It's like you've never stepped foot in Iowa, you've never came to like one of our farms to see like what we do and like how we do it, and you've never seen like the local town, like how they feel about us or like anything like that. Like, we hire, locally, like, tons of people make money because our business is there, and it's good for everybody, and we don't bother anybody, and no one even knows we're there. Like, we're in the middle of nowhere. It's like we're literally not causing anybody any harm.
And you guys are lowering the cost of electricity. Like, those electro grids, people don't realize. We were talking about it. I was interviewing Rebel Mining earlier, and David was telling me, he's like, like, these power companies are giving us deals because we are consuming so much power that we're actually able to like basically level out the grid now. Like, these energy producers are able to produce so much more energy, or at least produce the demand. Like, we're in the daytime, the people are using their electricity, they're starting this up, or in the summer when it's really hot and all the AC units are running during the day, they have the ability to offset those loads. So there's no wasted electricity. And when these electricity companies aren't wasting that electricity, right, it's bringing the cost of everybody's electricity down. It doesn't matter how much Bitcoin miners use, as long as they're not over peak demand, what they can produce, they want to produce as much as humanly possible. And then that brings the price down for everybody. And it's like, seems like it's such a win-win. Like, every town would benefit, like every American citizen would benefit from a Bitcoin mining crew like yourself, coming in there
100%.
and popping up shop.
One of the like big fallacies that people have is like, oh, if you're using so much power, that means there isn't power for other people, and that causes the price to go up,
Yeah.
which is like completely and utterly false. Actually, like the more power that people are using, typically the lower the pricing goes. But it's like a hard thing for people to understand, and like they're very clever about like how they like spread the misinformation about this kind of stuff to like
Hmm.
people who aren't, and like most people are like, basically everybody is not familiar with like how electricity gets to their home and like how it works. They just turn the light and it works every time and it always works. So
Hmm.
no one really ever like second guesses it. But like, because for us, like, because it's such an important part of our business, so, you have to go like down the rabbit hole and learn how all that stuff works. And like, you come out the other side and realize like, yeah, like every power company like is going to be more or less like in the future recruiting all the Bitcoin miners to come and be on their lines, to do business with them, because it is so beneficial to them. So we'll
And
see.
do you guys see yourselves? Well, actually, I want to give you guys a little bit of open mic. I know I've kind of hogged this conversation. I'm not sure exactly, if there was any key things that you guys wanted to come on the show and talk about. I want to give you the opportunity to promote your business. Tell us more about, exactly what you guys wanted to talk about. So maybe we'll go with Eric first, and then we'll jump over to you, Stephen.
Oh.
I mean, I keep throwing questions at you all day. I just don't want to. I wanted to make sure if you guys, I brought you on the show. I wanted to promote and support you guys and help you guys in any way I can. So I want to give you a chance to tell us a little bit about a little bit more about yourself, about your company, about if people want to get into contact with you guys, what's the best way to do it. Tell us a little bit about the mining equipment. You had mentioned a little bit the difference between the two miners. That's what actually caught my eye, was that video where you were explaining the difference between the heat sinks and the spacing between the heat sinks. I'm like, wow, this guy really knows his shit. So I was really impressed with it. So that's why I reached out.
Yeah. So no, I mean, again, it's just us two guys. We started just like everybody else with one miner in the basement, and we just proceeded to get larger and larger and larger. So again, we understand what the small guys are ultimately interested in, and because again, we're still small ourselves. But I mean, we try to put out useful information. That's what you see with the what's miner versus Bitmain content. We don't hold our opinions back. We don't pull punches. We we try to pride ourselves on being pretty stuck in the real world. Like, we set our ego aside, we set our biases aside, and say, hey, if I'm wrong, if we're going to try out what's mine, or if I'm wrong about it, I'll be the first to admit, hey, I was fucking wrong and that was dumb. This has been better, this hasn't worked, this has worked. And it's we just try to share our opinion and our experiences the best way we can. And we do that through the content and the test, because I mean, I like testing stuff to the limit. I'll push our Bitmain products. I'll max out the PSU just to see what happens. If I blow up a PSU, so be it. It's $200, but now I know that's the limit, and I can share that with other smaller guys, so they don't have to push the limit and say, oh, when am I gonna fucking blow my PSU or not? I just love like the R&D type stuff. It's really fun. I love to, I don't want to say destroy stuff. I, again, love to push the limit and just see, what happens when you push things a little too far. And of course, I love sharing that information as well.
I think that information is invaluable. Honestly, it's videos like that I was sitting there watching hours and hours of trying to figure out why 5 out of 6 graphics cards would be running and the fifth one wouldn't, or and then I'd be changing PCI slots, and then all of a sudden it was the fourth card, and the next time it was the 6th card, and then it was back to the 4th card, dude. And I'm trying to change out cables and trying to do process of elimination, and then ordering different meters to monitor my voltage coming out of certain things, and then 10 hours into doing research, you find that one video, you're like, motherfucker, dude, it was that, man. It was just a fucking push button on the back of my little riser that I had to press, dude. That was it. And I didn't know, and it's like, I consumed 10 hours of content for that, when, people like yourself are the ones that are like, out there putting out that one video that just happened to save the day for many of us out there, man. So I think that that knowledge that you're putting out in the world is invaluable to so many people. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that really, really appreciate that. How about you, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, if you're in, the Bitcoin and crypto scene, you're for sure interested in like money and passive income and like that kind of stuff. And, I would say that mining with a hosted company is about as passive as the income can get for you. Where, like only one of our customers has actually came like to see the facility. So, you're not gonna, you're not doing anything with your miners. It's a feeling like, I still remember when we first plugged our first one in and we started getting like our first payouts to our wallet, and I was like, dude, this is just like the coolest thing ever. Like
Mm-hmm.
this machine runs, and then like I get money into my Bitcoin
Dude,
wallet.
I
Like
know that
what?
feeling. Yeah.
Just like boosh, like blow your mind. Um, but yeah, like it's totally doable. Like we're sitting here, telling you like, we're going to be at 1,500 miners, within, the next like 12 to 18 months. Like it's totally doable. And if you want to be, a part of that, and you want to feel what it's like to be like, man, I made, 400 bucks this month. I didn't do anything. Like that's pretty sweet. Like I took my family to a nice dinner with that money and I didn't do anything for it. Like this, like all that stuff is like super, it's completely realistic. Like, and all of our customers are doing that right now, and it's like, it's not like this far-fetched thing, where like some people are doing it, but like, that could never be me. Like, I don't know how to do that. And I don't know how to like get in touch with these guys. Like, I don't know who they are. Like, are they going to scam me? Like, all like the typical things, like,
Mhm.
two of us are sitting right here, like my face is on the screen, like that's my legal name. Like, like we're not gonna scam you. You're gonna get the rates that the big guys get. Like there's no advantage that they have that you don't have. And it's a cool community to be a part of too, where you get basically the kind of the last thing is like you get access to all these other guys, like our customers who all have this kind of weird interest in this Bitcoin, and then this Bitcoin thing, which is already like a niche, and then like mining is even a niche of Bitcoin. So it's like, you get to meet a bunch of guys who are like interested in all the same things as you, and have a lot of like similar views, as you, and like just about like life in general and stuff like that, which is kind of a cool thing too. We typically have like a monthly like customer just like Zoom call where we just like talk about mining or Bitcoin or whatever, just kind of shoot the shit with the guys, and it's a blast. Um, so, anyways, yeah, that's us. We're two-man gang, family business. If you're in the Midwest and you kind of understand like how things work there, like
Mhm.
you'll for sure relate to us. A lot of our customers are from the Midwest and kind of get how the Midwest guys do things. What you see is what you get here. Like with our videos, if you see us on Twitter, like we're not overselling you. Like it's a box in the middle of a cornfield. Like you walk out the container, you can grab a husk of corn. Like there's nothing fancy here.
That's
But
badass.
that's who we are. Like that's us. And we're gonna show and market like exactly what you're gonna get with us. And so yeah, that's Wilson Mining for you.
Man, that's badass, man. Like I said, 'cause every time I hear you talk, it's just all thing I can think is the American dream, and that's inspirational to so many. Tell me a little bit about tell me a little bit about pool mining. Are you guys solo mining or pool mining? Are you guys running your own pool?
We are not. We are pool mining right now. We use Lincoin. No, I mean solo mining. There's a lot of risk to it. I mean, it'd
Have
be
you tried
awesome
it
to
yet?
do. No, I haven't. There's just so much. I mean, because I would do it on my own personal miner. Like, if I had it in my home or something, I would just,
Yeah.
plugged it in for the fuck of it.
And you have to
Then,
run your own node to do that, right?
I don't think so. I mean, you
You'd have to run
can,
your
and like if
own.
it's true solo
Yeah.
mining, yeah, but you can do like a solo mining pool. Just the pool
Oh.
manage it, and they get a small percent if you hit a block.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's like solo mining is like you're just basically playing like the Bitcoin lottery, so to
Yeah.
speak.
I've heard that, and I don't know if that's like I was wondering, right? We always hear these stories like every year. we hear a
Yeah.
story about this dude that plugged in an old ASIC
Yeah.
miner, right? And he had that little dude just chugging along, and then boom, all of a sudden,
It's a
six and a
block.
half
Yeah.
Bitcoin, and they always
Yeah.
equate it to hitting the lottery, but yet
Yeah.
it happens every year. And I always then I realize like how corrupt the crypto news is and these media outlets are, and I always just
Like,
wondered like.
get stories.
I want somebody like you to try it. Like, I'm really just curious if you like, I mean, maybe it'd take a couple months and what would you be out? Like, is it $600 and the wear and tear in your equipment on one machine is like, what is the L if you put one of these brand new Bitcoin miners on a solo miner and let that sucker rip for a couple months? What would it cost you? I
Just
almost would
Couple
like
hundred
wondering
bucks.
like, could we like talk about something like, can I pay like for like 3 months of service and throws at a solar miner and like just see like I'm playing like the lottery and just see if we could
Yeah.
hit one?
Yeah. I
I'm just
mean,
curious because I want to know like,
yeah.
are they lying to us? Is this something that like the big pools are making so much money off hosting all of these mining services that maybe it is profitable, or there is a chance? Because if you hit one of those, right? Like how, I mean,
Yeah. What are the
like
odds? Not good. Not good at all.
what
Yeah,
what
you
are
hear
the,
about it like every year. I don't know how like true those stories. I guess I don't know how true those stories are, but
it's
you'd most certainly lose your money for sure.
you're
Um,
100% sure on that for sure.
yeah, yeah, I'm 100% sure you'd lose your money. The
No
pools
shit.
don't actually make as much money as the what people think. It's a very competitive business to be in.
How,
The pools are that's a deep, deep, deep rabbit hole to go down. But they're not as profitable as what people think. I would not particularly love to be if I was just in the pool business. That's
Mhm.
very tight margins.
can
And
you can you
yeah,
explain a little bit too about the so like your Bitcoin miners are getting mined for mining a block, right? For solving that transaction. But now with the ordinals and
mhm.
gas fees being so high, it's like $50 per transaction. How are how are those rewards rewarded out? Like, does your into each miner like that moves a transaction gets a piece of that $50 pie, or how can you explain how that works?
Yeah, so most people mine using a FPPS pool. That's the payout scheme. So how FPPS works out is it takes like a 12-hour or a certain amount of block average and says, all right, what was the normal fee for these amount of blocks, and then that is the reward that those miners get for the fees. So if there's a 240 block average, the fee was whatever it be, 30 sats per vbyte, whatever. That
Hmm.
was the average, and that's what the FPPS pools will pay out to the miners for their fee for the reward.
Okay. And
It's it's, it's Go ahead.
how does that break down for you? I guess I'm still kind of like, can you break that down a little bit more for me so I can understand? There's some piece I'm not comprehending there.
So yeah, when the FPPS pool mines a block, it gets shared on whatever. Let's say I was contributing 1% of the hash rate to that
Hmm.
FPPS pool.
Yep.
That means I'll receive 1% of that block reward. I'll
Yep.
receive 1% of the transaction fees, and that comes to me because that's what I was contributing. And
Yep.
obviously, it just takes you get the block reward, which is 6.25 now. It'll go to 3.125 later on in the month.
Mhm.
But the transaction fees, there's no set price for that. That can go up or down, whatever. When the ordinals happened, it was there's a set amount of block space, and so you have, just like every free market, the highest payer is going to get to use it. And so the ordinals were the highest bidders, and that's why the fees were so high, and they were eclipsing the block rewards, even because, again, the fees were so high, people were willing to
Yeah.
pay for that. And so that just gets shared among the pool users.
Mm. And those so like the network's able to or I guess the pool is able to distinguish like how many of those actual transactions separate from the blocks that like that pool is able to track all that per miner. If I am I understanding that right?
Yeah, it's pools, like Steven said, it's a very, very, very deep rabbit hole. And again, you don't really understand how pools truly work, and unless you're hardcore, you developed your own, you have a deep depth knowledge of like encryption and how the mining pools specifically work. Again, I don't even know. I plug my miner
Yeah.
into the pool, and I hope they're being honest, but
Hmm.
you can verify. But again, a lot of that program stuff that's well above me. Like
Me
it's a
too.
deep, deep, deep dark rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think that's why we all use the pools, right? Because it is so like you need not a
Yeah.
PhD, but you really need to like I'm going to dedicate almost like taking like 3 or 4 months off work and doing nothing but just studying how these
Hmm.
pools work. And you almost would have to go to somebody that has one and literally sit
Hmm.
down and have them walk you through it. I almost feel like because every time I ask somebody, it's kind of the same thing. Like they have an idea, but like nobody's
Yeah.
really been able to like. And I'm just like, wow, it's just so far over my head, and I always just wonder how these things operate. But I appreciate the honesty, man, and I don't blame you for not knowing because that's what the pools are there for, you know.
Again, I'm just an auto mechanic. I don't fucking know. I just
Yeah.
fix shit.
Yep.
I'm stuck in the real world. So
Yep. So we got about 3 or 4 minutes left. Tell us about your guys' personal social medias. We'll go with Steven and then we'll jump over to Eric and we'll kind of wrap it up after that, man.
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you. We're at Wilson Mining, exactly how it sounds. WILSON Mining on Twitter, and then we're wilsonmining.io for our website to kind of see what we've got going on. You can contact us there. But yeah, if you've ever kind of thought about getting into mining, book a call with us. You can just do it right on our website. We can kind of go over, kind of all the questions that you have, and like, you can kind of explain more about your situation. And typically how we do it is like, let's kind of figure out like a plan that kind of makes sense for you,
Hmm.
for that individual, and then we go from there. And like, you work with me, like, I would be like your point of contact, so you talk straight to me. I can make all the decisions. I don't need to go to anybody outside of Eric. So it's like,
Yes.
one of the cool things about working with us is like, this whole industry is very unpredictable. You just don't know what's going to happen. So it pays to have guys that who can,
Hmm.
fix things and solve problems on the fly, which is exactly what we can do. So reach out, if you're interested and or curious, or just want to learn more. Reach out. We have plenty of time to talk with you guys and see if mining kind of makes sense. So it's once you catch the bug, there's no going back though. So be aware that once you get that first payout, it's gonna it'll get serious from there. I can promise. So
Yeah, and I like what you said in the beginning too. You had said running your own miners at your own home is the quickest way to get a divorce. And I was just laughing at myself because
yeah,
my girlfriend's dad was the one who was like talking about Bitcoin that ended up kind of getting me into it in the first place, and then like our relationship kind of ended because of it, and I ended up selling off my Ethereum miners and trying to save that relationship, and I wish I would have sent
yeah,
them off, right? I sold them off, and I should have sent them off to a hosting service, right, and kept that
yeah,
passive income coming in because that
yeah.
was the answer, right? So don't give up on mining. If you guys got the equipment, put it to use out there. Reach out to these guys, and I'll give
Yeah.
Eric the mic for the last couple minutes here.
yeah, like Steven said, just hit us up. Like, even if we typically, like, if customers contact us and we don't have space, we still try our best to, listen to your plan. We try to give you advice because, again, we know the industry pretty well. We've been in it for years now. We try to steer you in the right direction. So even if we can't, even if we personally can't host your miners, again, we want eventually sometime we will. And so if we treat you in respectful manner, you're going to come back. You're going to want to come back to us and say, hey, do you have some space now? And yada yada yada. So even if we can't host your miner, it's still worthwhile to reach out and just ask us questions because, again, we try to be helpful and we try to steer you in the right direction based on what is what your goals are. We don't want to just sell you a miner and tell you to fuck off. We don't want to
Mhm.
just take your money and, again, tell you to fuck off. Like, we want you to have a good experience in Bitcoin mining because eventually you're going to remember and you're going to come back to us, and we're the first people you're going to ask for. And so that's ultimately our goal, is just try to make mining easy.
And I think that's huge. And is there a waiting list too? That are you guys taking slots on the waiting list? You said you're looking to have 1,500 slots open within the next year or so. Are you guys taking waiting lists, or what would be If I like say I decided like I'm thinking right now I got 4 extra grand, I'm like maybe I want to help just even support the network and like kind of dip my toes in the water and maybe go in on one of these miners. When would I need? Was there a deadline on that? Are you guys getting close to having those slots filled up? Give us a little bit of a heads up on that, and let me know from there, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. So for the pricing that we have now, that's going to be closing this weekend,
Hmm.
and then from there we'll kind of see like how the miners are priced after the halving. But yeah, like just reach out and say, hey, I want to get on your list. We'll stick you on our email list, and then shoot you emails as kind of availability is coming up. And we're pretty good about like giving people like months in advance to be like to plan and get their kind of ducks in a row as far as getting everything situated for the investment and stuff like that. So yeah, best thing, just reach out.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, it was an honor having you guys both in the show. Again, everybody, guys, swing down in the description. If you guys aren't into mining, you guys are part of the Bitcoin network. It's following people like this that are out there putting in the work every single day, trying to make the Bitcoin network better. And these are the kind of people we want to support. We always want to support the underdogs over here. So greatly appreciate them. Their links everything are down below in the description. If you guys are watching the show, you guys can see it over here on the screen at Wilson Mining over on X. Probably the best way to get into contact with anybody in the crypto space. Swing over there, show these gentlemen some love. God bless each and every one of you guys. Again, my name's Ryan Matta. We do 3 shows a day. 2 shows are on crypto. 10 a.m. show is Bitcoin only. 2 p.m. show is politics over on LFA TV, exclusively on rumble.com/LFA. My show is called Matta of Fact. And then we also do the nighttime show, which is now kind of turning into a Bitcoin only show as well. So if you guys are into that kind of content, smash that like button, share this content, and God bless each and every one of you guys. We will catch you guys in the next one. We're out. Peace.
Run.